Welcome to the best sports betting show on the planet. This is WagerTalk Today, and I am your host, Andy Lang. It is Monday, loaded show. We got to recap the NFL weekend. We got to break down the latest team report. We're going to hit up MLB. We're going to give you a college football team you want to fade. We are going to start the week off sharp. We got UFC 319 this weekend, so if you have any questions for me or for the guests, let us know in the live chat or in the comment section. Gianni's going to join us, get us started with the Steam report. Bill Krackomberger is going to join us for an MLB prop, and Bryan Power is going to break down Padres, Giants, and college football. Forgive me, I lost my voice over the week. Lose would be one thing. Lose would be like you can find it. You could find DB Cooper before you could find my voice. There's I had Steve Merrill on standby today, so this is as loud as your boy's gonna get. So apologize. Don't expect any gigantic laughs or anything from me. All right, let's bring on Gianni, someone that hopefully has not lost his voice, because my man is going to be on Contender Series tomorrow. Hopefully your voice is in good shape. Gianni, how are you on this Monday?
Yeah, just busy, man. Just so much going on. Like you said, Contender Series starts tomorrow. We have UFC 319 on Saturday. I got a show coming out today for UFC 319. I have a podcast that I have to do on Wednesday. I'm doing NFL, AFC, NFC, and then college football previews on Wednesday. So a busy week, man. It's good. Honestly, doing that, the best decision I made is getting on Bet on It again. It's just had me get more prepared than I have in the last, 2 seasons as far as NFL and college football goes. So like just working last night for hours for Wednesday, I uncovered a couple nuggets or futures and stuff, so that I otherwise probably would have just overlooked, just because it's busy moving stuff over the last couple of days. It's slow today, really slow, just a little bit of baseball. And it looks like they're getting out ahead of the public, because from the early moves I saw from the overnights, it's get everything that they landed on is exactly what the public's already betting this morning. That always worries me. I like to pay attention when that's the case, and see how the lines do later in the day. Because again, it's about that time where everybody's just getting into football mode. Baseball, the recreational bettors will start slowing down and looking more into college football, more into even preseason. And it's more like sharps versus the books as far as baseball goes. I mean, I know with the influx of sports betting getting bigger, you get more recreational bettors than ever. But still, I think football's still front and center now. And I think that's what's garnering all the attention. And you're seeing a lot more manipulation in Major League Baseball, as we expected. So be cautious with some of the early moves, especially if they're seem like they're the public side as well, because you'll see a lot of take back later in the day.
We got to talk about the preseason overs galore. I watched some of these, and I actually started betting it. We put out client plays. They both hit. I know my theory. I know what I watched. I want your theory on why there's so many overs.
Well, listen, I mean, you could notice from just what the numbers open the totals. Like we talked about it before week 1 of preseason, that you're looking at a more efficient market, and that's what it's supposed to do. Like we're seeing higher totals than we did in previous years. I mean, when I first came here, the highest preseason total would be like a 33. You know what I mean? Now you're seeing yesterday, 33 got steamed up to 38 and a half. They're still betting it over, and it still flies over. The game's changed, man, and scoring is what the NFL wants, and that's what they're giving us. Again, eventually the market will correct itself, and when you look over the last 5,000 bets, you're going to get pretty much 50-50 favorites, dogs, 50-50 over-unders. The NFL is that efficient that it's really hard to profit, off the biases like back in the day. So again, now that you're seeing more and more points, I just think we're going to see higher and higher totals. That's how you're going to offset that.
Actually, a couple people have commented this. Ethan says this: everyone adopting the Dan Campbell method in preseason, going for it on 4th down. I noticed that, but Gianni, here's what I noticed. I noticed a lot of coaches and backups trying to win a game. They were playing intense at the end of the half. They were the Bears and Dolphins. They were trying to win at the end of the game. They were going into hurry up mode. There was a lot more aggressive play calling, and I watched the Bears defense get excited when they had a big stop on 4th down. It looked like the intensity of a regular season game. I never remember seeing that in preseason. So I think you got coaches and backups going out saying, hey, we want to see if these guys can win some games. If I get some of these teams that I think look excited to win these games, or, they got a really good backup quarterback situation, I think some of these overs are really, really good. There's obviously some teams that could not care less about them, but you can pick those up and say, nope, not playing those. But I'm looking at team totals on some of these teams that showed, hey, we're excited to try and win some of these games. So that's been my take. New to me was how intense these backups and coaches were taking it. Like, don't go out.
Well,
and
also these
show us what you
offenses,
got, try
their
and win.
schemes are so advanced. You have to work it in the preseason. Like, these offenses are more complex than ever, especially with all these young coaches coming into the game and changing it up. Remember back in the day, it was like, keep your plays under the hood till the regular season starts. Like, no one wanted to tip their hand. It was a vanilla style preseason. You know what I mean? It was, obviously you want to check out your talent and see who your first, second, third, fourth string and who you're cutting and going through the process. But it was more about keeping everybody healthy and not tipping your hand on what you're going to do during the regular season. But now, again, with these offenses being so much more complex than ever, and the rule changes more or less forcing that hand to become more offensive oriented than ever, you got to get started early in the preseason. And I think there's not as much fear because of the protection of the offensive skill position players that you're going to get your guys hurt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you could let them play a little more in preseason than you would in the past. Because they are really protecting these guys.
Slow Jam says it, ride the Chargers, Trey Lance. I watched a lot of Trey Lance. The best thing about Trey Lance is in preseason, the wide receiver's either wide open or he's just running. It's like they're going to get yards pretty much every single play. He's like the perfect preseason player to try and bet on. Love the Chargers team totals. We got plenty of NFL preseason this week. Gianni, you mentioned baseball. Let's take a look at the steam report. We can start in NFL. There's already been big steam moves. You can talk about some of these NFL games, and of course, I'm going to come back at you and say, I know you get the best of the number, but are they really worth it? So what are we seeing here for some of these NFL preseason lines?
And the only stuff that I saw in the accounts was I saw Miami get bet right away, and because that was going to go through a key number. So I'll tell you now what's in the accounts. Miami -1.5 and 2 is in the accounts. Las Vegas -4 is in the accounts. Giants +1.5 is in the accounts. Baltimore -1.5 is in the accounts. Denver -4 is in the accounts. And I know I saw a total. Where's that total? Oh, over Green Bay, Indianapolis, over 38.5, Green Bay, Indianapolis. So those already are in the accounts. But yeah, I didn't release to subscribers yet any of the NFL preseason just because I saw that the Sharps didn't do all that great in week one. You saw Dave Mason put out on Bet Online, his book got cracked. I mean, the players went 5-0, I think, on the most one-sided public. And that's going to happen, man. Sure. That will happen. And you just got to take it slow. There's a lot of weeks. And again, with the preseason, there's a lot of intangibles. A couple weeks to go, and the regular season will be here. So these line moves like this will not be happening in a couple weeks unless you see like a key quarterback go down. Like, not even a skill position player is going to move the line that significantly, unless there's a huge overreaction.
Barely a half a point on some of these big name skill position players. Like,
exactly.
All right, let's take a look at baseball. What line moves do we have there?
All right. The only thing that I see that is opposite the public is Colorado, which for whatever reason, Colorado gets bet every time they're around that 2-1 range. And I mean, it kind of makes sense. You got to win 1 out of 3 games to break even. So as long as they don't get swept in the series, the worst you're going to do betting Colorado is probably break even. If they happen to get lucky and win 2 out of 3 games, you're probably going to find yourself up 4 units, 3 units through the series because they're always big dogs. And we talked about it. The money line becomes the great equalizer. A couple more signs and totals that I see. Pittsburgh, Milwaukee over. That's like so public as well. The account that I saw got over 8 bet into it. Over 8. That was the overnight. This morning I didn't see any over 8.5, but I've been seeing the public accounts getting over 8.5 from that book that I have access to. It's like 100% on the over they're getting. All the bets so far have been tracked on the over 8.5 at -120, -125. So be careful there. 957 San Diego +120, also a public side, but they went under 7.5 up to -125. Public's going over in that one. So they're opposite on Colorado, opposite on the total in San Diego. But Yankees, Minnesota's got steamed over 8.5 up to -125. I saw on the accounts. That's getting public money as well. Detroit at -135 was an overnight. Seeing public money on them also. And then Boston, Houston over 7.5 at even money, which is why it's juiced now at 7.5. But again, over in Pittsburgh, Milwaukee, San Diego, over Minnesota, New York, Detroit, over Boston, Houston. Public sharps on the same side. So pay attention to later line moves to see if this was a case of manipulation to set themselves up with a nice scalp later in the day. And the only opposites were the Colorado side and then the under in San Diego. So, yeah, a little slow so far, but it's Monday. Got a lot going on, like you said, with a big week for MMA. UFC signed their new TV deal. That got released. Good news for us. Won't have to pay for pay-per-views anymore once that starts the new year. So, yeah, things are good. Things are looking good.
Kylie was asking about Contender Series. Gianni, let's you and I talk Contender Series tomorrow. They're doing weigh-ins right now. We're going to make sure all these guys make weigh-ins. We already had a short notice fight last week. So, Kylie, I promise we'll talk a little Contender Series tomorrow. Scott, I'll ask Bryan Power about Florida State and their win total. And the strategist asked about tennis. There's some just weirdness going on in tennis this year, Gianni. The players are expressing frustration with the schedule. I would just say tread lightly in tennis. It's a great tournament. Traditionally, it's a really, really competitive one. The big names are playing, but there's just some weird vibes around tennis this year.
Got to be cautious.
All right, Gianni, tell everyone what you have up for clients this Monday.
I already have a UFC 319 package in there with 3 bets already. 5%, big move. I haven't released a 5% this entire August. Already, 11 days in. Again, that's why I'm up over 30% ROI on those 5% big moves. And in the UFC, up over 30, 40 units, the last 365 on those 5%. Again, I haven't fired in a couple of weeks, but I found a nice one for 319, dug deep into this card. I have a 4% in there for you today that I released. And then I gave you guys that 3% free one on Jeff Neal at +240. He's now down to +210. I think +200 or better. You're live there. Easily wins this fight 1 out of 3 times. He's just dangerous everywhere. And I know Prades, even though he lost to Ian Gary, he looked good. He showed that even though he smokes 2 packs of cigarettes a day, he could go 15 minutes with anybody, which was good for Prades. He got tested, so I know everybody expects him to bounce back. But this is a tough out against Jeff Neal, because if you look at his knockdown ratio, you'll be impressed. Prades may appear to have the power, and he's willing to land one, take 2 to land his one. But against Neal, that's a recipe for disaster. He's got some pop. He's got grappling. And again, he's just, workman-like as they come. At +200 or better, I love Jeff Neal. Like I said, I gave it out 3% to subscribers at +240. Market's moved our way so far. Great card. UFC on the line will be today, live 6 p.m. Eastern on UFC Fight Pass. You could check that out as well. And Contender Series tomorrow, baby, on ESPN Plus. I'll be there live.
All right. Thanks, Gianni. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Let's have a great Monday. Can't wait to see you again tomorrow. Guys, hit the like button, please. I forgot to ask at the beginning of the show. Hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe to the WagerTalk YouTube channel. Football season is here. You get notified whenever we have these breakdown videos, whenever a show goes live. So make sure you're subscribed. Join the WagerTalk family here on YouTube. Let's bring in Bill Krackomberger. We got to talk a little bit of he always comes in and does an MLB prop. But, Bill, what was your take on the first week of NFL preseason?
Bloodbath.
Okay.
No, but I mean, every single pro I know, it's only about 2 or 3, actually, 3 of them, had great line moves. I mean, we had Buffalo +3. They were -3, and then they took back some money right at game time. But I know some guys were asking me, "Hey, should I take 3 on the other side?" I don't, but if they want to, I'm sure the value is now when it moves 6 points is on the other side. But however, these things happen, and I thought Buffalo should have won if you watched the end of the game. I mean, first and goal. at the 3-yard line, and with plenty of time, they couldn't get it in the end zone, even though they called a touchdown and called it back. But that was just one of them, though. This was some variance that you normally preseason normally you don't get that, so it happens. You have to have bankroll management. You have to not go crazy on the late games, and those overs were amazing this week, though. But if you remember, last couple seasons, these overs first week has been, the way to go on a lot of these things. I really didn't. I'm just saying that the overs were really out there. And you know what? I even thought now week 2 they were going to be adjusted off of week 1, and you're going to see a lot of 40s. I only seen like 3 at 40.5, 41.5. There wasn't really a lot. There's still a lot of 37.5, 38.5s out there. I expect a little bit more, especially because your starters will play a little more in week 2, unlike week 3, where you just want to get them ready for the 2 weeks from then. So I expect to see a little more. So after I see these numbers, I expect to see some line movement towards the overs. But a very rare week where all the sharps got killed on betting, and it's betting off of information too, betting off of starters, betting off of coaches. So I expect a much better week this week, and preseason has been my bread and butter for years. So, it's funny when you have a losing week or something like that, a winning handicap or lifetime, it's probably the time to get on them. If you're hitting 45% or something, and you're a lifetime 55% capper, well, now you have to return to the mean a little bit, and it's time to jump back on them, in my opinion. So I've always said that. I've worked with some great people over the years: Alan Boston, Billy Walters, Doyle and Chip. I've worked a lot of really sharp syndicates in my life, and that I always found that to be the case. Sometimes you have to almost coddle the originator a little bit. They doubt themselves, even though they won. I'm not joking. Even though they won the previous 3 years in preseason football, you have to work with your guys and say, listen, it's one weekend. Relax. It's not.
Yeah.
You have to know short-term variance. Like, I've been around this so long, I'm gonna lose 45 games out of 100. I mean, it's just it is what it is, But anyway, yeah, a lot of the sharp guys. Matter of fact, like I said, there's 3 groups, and I'm gonna consider myself one of them. We all lost this week, and we had plenty of CLV, plenty of closing line value, and hey, it just happens. And I think we're going to be geared up for a great week 2 and 3, especially 3. Week 3 is always really good too.
Love it, Bill. I'm going to keep my eye on the team totals. That's what I focused on this weekend in NFL preseason. So let's talk a little MLB. We have a question in the chat from Travis. He was asking about what are the what sports books have the most baseball betting options here in Vegas?
It's a great question, Travis, because you're right. There aren't a lot of betting options. Like, if you're back east, you have the FanDuels, you have the DraftKings, and many, many other ones that, Bet365, all these other ones that of course don't let me play. But however, if you're betting $100, $200, you should have some longevity there, especially if you're betting some NFL on Sundays. There's a good tip. So if you're betting hot stuff all week long, make sure you give them some action on NFL. I don't care if you're, laying 7 with them, and then somewhere else you're taking 7 plus 7 minus 0.5 and losing a little money. You just want longevity in the account. So you don't. Joe Public bets on Sunday. You don't want to not bet on Sunday. How many people I've worked with are total bugs that they want to bet steam all week and then leave the account blank Sunday when the NFL's there, which is the most popular betting sport. You have to make the accounts look good. So go back to the question. I'm going to say BetMGM has tons of ways to bet baseball. Caesars, which doesn't allow me to play, threw me out for winning, but Caesars, William Hill brands, I would think they have many different ways, many options. Someone told me over at Coast, which copies the FanDuel line, if you're a low limit bettor, I think Coast has lots of options too. Probably more of an undercover out there too. Check out Stations too. I mean, I'm not allowed to play, but check out Stations. Even though these books don't let me play, hey, I'll give them credit for letting other people play and having lots of different lines up there. So I think that answers Travis' question.
Love it. All right, MLB prop. Come on and give us an MLB prop. What's one you like today?
Yeah, let's go to the Dodgers and let's go to Yoshi Yamamoto. I can't believe I said that name so perfectly.
It was great.
Over.
Spot on, man. You nailed that.
Yeah,
That was
tough
really
but
good.
games. Over 6.5 on strikeouts. Over 6.5 minus $1.45. He's up against the Angels lineup tonight that has just the number one strikeout rate for right-handed pitchers. So he is over this number 4 of his last 5 road starts. So this season should be able to get number 6 here. I'm sorry, should be able to get 6 innings here. So should be able to get 6 innings of work here against an Angels team that's just been having so many problems hitting the curveball and stuff. So I do like that over 4.5, over 6.5 minus $1.45. Yamamoto strikeouts tonight. Hopefully that gets you guys there, get you a little action. There'll be some preseason moves here. Not a big enough market right now, Andy, to be honest with you. Now what I say by that is the Vegas books aren't up yet. So Westgate, Circa, the Vegas books win. They're not up yet with their preseason lines. Real tough to bet on these preseason stuff without having a full market. Because I'm trying to bet some good volume. So, but we'll have some there this week.
Love it. I think Kylie, was it Bill? Do you like Dodgers team total over 4.5? Any opinion on that one?
Team total. Well, I mean, listen, I'm not an over player, to be honest with you. The props I can bet over on a lot of things. Team total, I mean, you're talking about one of the best teams in baseball. It's not the best team, but not the team we thought they were going to be. But so that situation there, I'm not giving out a play, but if anything, I would lean to the over. Going to my head, I lean to the over there, but again, not playing that.
Okay, so not an official play, and hey, that's perfectly fine. We got to make sure we tell, hey, this is something I would or would not play with my own money. So very important. So awesome having you on, Bill. What do you have everyone up for clients on this
Thank you.
Monday?
Thanks. No, hey guys, jump on the preseason. I don't, or even a monthly package, just where you get some of those NFL props and stuff. But yeah, it should be great. We have some futures up, NFL futures. I've been really good at futures, lifetime, ridiculous, on NFL futures. But you have to tie your money up. So, but at least you have action every week, for the next 4 months. You do have that, but I have some really good futures up, and I'm sure I'm going to have more before kickoff of the regular season.
Love it. Bill Krackomberger, always love having you on, and we got a lot of more NFL preseason and regular season. Bill Krackomberger, Crackman, and of course, we'll get some restaurant recommendations next week. So, guys, WagerTalk Insiders, make sure if you have not joined the WagerTalk Insiders, it gets you access to exclusive content on our WagerTalk YouTube page, emojis, badges, all that fun stuff. But it's only $2.99 a month, and you get a $5 coupon at the beginning of each month. And we're going to start rolling out some content that you're only going to be able to get. So that is at wt.buzz/insiders. So we already have people signing up. Scott Fells, see you in here today. And again, your WagerTalk Insider, we're going to be answering your questions. So appreciate all you guys who have joined. And if you haven't joined, it's no brainer. $2.99 a month. You get a $5 coupon? Yeah, no brainer. So, all right. We also still are running our 3-day Flex Pass schedule. It is only $48. You want to get your week started off on a good note. Saves you over 30%. All about flexibility. You choose the handicapper you trust every day. You get to play the release. You want to use somebody on Monday. You can use somebody different on Tuesday, somebody different on Wednesday, or you want to save it up for the weekend, you can do that as well. It's your picks. It's your way. 3-day Flex Pass. 30% off, only $48. Don't miss it. All right, let's go all around the world. Let's give some plays. And I actually wanted to do this segment before Bryan Power comes on because, Bryan, I want you to take a look at these, and we're going to talk about one of these. I have Padres and Giants. I have the Giants over 3.5 on their team total. I'm fading Darvish. He basically has one good start this year. 2 games ago, and then the very next game, he only goes 4 innings and has 3 earned runs. He has an ERA over 6.5. Giants, terrible offense over the weekend, but before those, 7 straight games with over 3.5 runs. It's not a client play, and I'm going to let you tell everyone why. I bet you have the exact reason why it didn't quite make the card. Pirates at Brewers. We're just going right back to the Brewers, -1.5. Brewers won 9 straight, 12 out of last 13. Quinton off a quality start. Pirates, fewest runs in baseball. And then UEFA. Kevin Dolan gave you guys a winner for over the weekend. We're going to go right back to him. I I believe it's pronounced carrot, kind of like the vegetable, against Slovan Bratislava. He likes Slovan in regulation. This is the second game that they're going to play in this series. Leg one was brutal. Bratislava had 2 red cards and a penalty kick. They really haven't lost a meaningful game at this venue since early March, so it's a little bit juicy, minus 160, but he says it's absolutely worth it. They're coming off a nightmare game. Expect a nice bounce back spot. All right, Brian, get in here. All right. So why do you think I couldn't quite get there on the Giants over the 3.5 team total? Why could I not get there as a client play?
Wow, what a awkward return to the program here, Andy, after a week off. I'm very happy to be back last week because I think not being able to make the spot last week gave me some negative juju. I'll talk about that in a little bit. But why I'm guessing you did not want to make it the Giants team total over 3.5 part of your official client card is, well, the Giants offense at home typically is not very good. Now, we all know historically Oracle Park has been friendly to the pitchers, right? It is what we call a pitcher's park. This year, it's been kind of even more pitcher friendly than normal, and no team knows that better than the Giants themselves. Second lowest scoring home team in all of baseball this season, Andy, just 3.63 runs per game. Now, that is 3.63. You don't need to be a math major to know that it's higher than 3.5. So, look, there's a chance Andy's team total could be right, and what I'm about to give you could be right as well. You mentioned the bad offense for the Giants over the weekend. Sunday, they were shut out by the Nationals, and this is really damning here. They were shut out by a Nationals team that has the highest bullpen ERA in all of baseball, 5.88, and was starting Mackenzie Gore. Mackenzie Gore came into that game in horrible form. This is an even tougher matchup against the Padres, which I'm sure you had to note there, Andy. They have the number 1 bullpen ERA in all of baseball. I agree. Darvish isn't great, although he has allowed just 5 hits in his last 2 starts. The silver lining for San Francisco, and perhaps this is why maybe Andy's team total and the full game under, which is what I am endorsing here in case you haven't figured that out, may both hit. Logan Webb starting for the Giants tonight. And they talk about bullpens. I mentioned Padres number 1 in bullpen ERA. Well, the Giants are number 2. So we've got the 2 top bullpens in all of baseball. Handicapping bullpens, as you know, Andy, has become more and more important each and every year in Major League Baseball. Webb, he's pitched traditionally much better at home. Comes off back-to-back dominant starts against the Pirates, who I know you noted a few moments ago are the weakest lineup in baseball. But Webb, 21 strikeouts in 11 2/3 innings pitched in those 2 starts against the Pirates. I like it. He allowed just 2 runs. San Diego only 23rd in runs per game overall, guys, and they average fewer than 4 on the road. To sum it all up, all signs point to the under 7 on this one. I think that is in line. Correct me if I'm wrong, Andy. I was just joining, as mentioning it with Gianni, that Sharps jumped on the under. I put the free play under 7.5 on my page. People could check that out, WT.buzz BP. But I would still play it at 7 just for a smaller amount.
Yeah, just so we're clear, Brian got assigned the Padres and the Giants, and I thought that was a good segue. So, yeah, you like the under, and, yeah, you're 100% right. I had a bunch of things, like, going in my favor that I liked it, and I was like, I can't play this Giants team at home. They go over on the road every time, and then they come home, and it's like they're holding the bats the opposite way. Like
look, on the Power 5
barrels?
On the Power 5 yesterday, Andy, I endorsed the full game over with them and the Nationals, thinking, hey, because the Nats are a top 10 team in scoring on the road. And I was like, well, Giants, they're facing Gore and this hideous bullpen. All we needed was 1 run to send that game over. Instead, it was a push at 8. The Nats scored all. If you would have told me going into that game, Nats are going to score 8 runs, BP, I'd say, well, we're going to be dancing in the streets with an easy over, I do believe. Well, guess what? We were not, because the Giants forgot to score. But, hey, just because maybe we're looking at things a little different doesn't mean Andy and I can't both be right on this game, folks. Giants could win it 4-2, and we're both winners.
Love it. Love it. Let's talk a little college football. We asked you to come here with a team that you're looking to fade. We had a question in the chat about Florida State, and you said, oh, this will work out pretty well together. So floor is yours. Just talk to us about college football here.
Yeah, I'm glad somebody asked about Florida State. The WagerTalk powers that be will be happy with me as I, as always, challenge the algorithm and will be bringing you my take on Marshall, which I'm sure everyone is lining up here in the chat room to listen about. You guys are going to want to fade Marshall. I'll tell you why in just a little bit. But for the comment about Florida State, and this is going to kind of tie into what I'm saying about Marshall in a little bit. The books, obviously, Andy, have gotten so much sharper at pricing in the expected improvement or regression from these teams. You take a look at Florida State. This is a team obviously off a disastrous season, maybe the worst season in history in Tallahassee. They win just 2 games. Well, they're priced at 6.5 wins. And they open with Alabama. That's likely to be a loss. Nevertheless, I mean, I agree with what the books are doing. I just don't see any value at a highly juiced 6.5 towards the over, right? They're going to win more games. We know they're going to be an improved football team in 2025, the Seminoles. It's just that there's no value in betting that right now. The books are saying everybody expects Florida State to improve. I do think looking at the schedule in the ACC, they played 2 of their 5 ACC road games are against the crummier teams in the conference. So I think they will probably go over. I just don't see a lot of value in that number. I mean, if you love Florida State, I would say bet them to make the conference championship game. Take a flyer on that. I think we all expect Clemson to be there. But as for the second team, because by rule, it has to be 2 teams in that game, Andy, I think there's a little confusion as who that second team may be. So, that might be, if you're looking for value on Florida State, take a flyer on it, have some fun, bet them to make the conference championship game. Because I think SMU takes a step back this year, quite frankly.
I love it. What else you got for us in college football? Anything juicy? Anything sexy?
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yes, I guess I have my take that I didn't even get. Marshall. This is a team that you're going to want to fade, guys. Now, why do you want to fade Marshall? It's a team that's probably off your radar a little bit, but there is a lot of reasons to fade. This is basically the opposite of Florida State this year. In the sense that this was a team that won 10 games in 2024, and, well, they're not going to win 10 games in 2025. Andy, you go back to right before the bowl last year's Sun Belt champs, that was Marshall. They didn't even get to enjoy winning the conference title because head coach Charles Huff, he bolts for rival Southern Miss and basically took half the team with him. And things got so dire for Marshall. They had just 41 players left on the roster and ended up having to pull out of their scheduled bowl game versus Army. Couldn't even field the team. So hope they enjoyed that Sun Belt Conference Championship trophy. But coming into 2025, books are expecting a massive drop-off here. How big of a drop-off? They went 10-3 last year, like I said, and are now projected for just 4.5 regular season wins. That number opened 5.5. So even that wasn't low enough for a lot of sharp bettors. And the reason for this bleak forecast, guys, only 4 starters back for Marshall. Their 3rd least returning production in the country. Tony Gibson's the new head coach. He's never been a head coach previously. And here's the key when you kind of open up the hood, so to speak, on 2024 Marshall. They were not a particularly good team last season, despite winning the Sun Belt. They were outgained during conference play. In fact, no team that finished with a winning conference record last year was outgained more than Marshall. So it was a really phony record. They were 4-1 in 1-score games, plus 10 in turnover margin. They won't have that kind of good fortune this year. And if you think 4.5 is too big of an adjustment on the win total, we talked about this with Florida State. I think game-by-game basis, plenty of opportunities to fade the Thundering Herd, especially when conference play starts. I mean, obviously, they're huge underdogs to Georgia in the opener. I'm not going to exactly be running to the window to lay the points with Georgia there. And then you've got a new FBS team, Missouri State, and an FCS team, Eastern Kentucky. So may leave those alone. But once it's Sun Belt time, Andy, fade on Marshall. I think there's a chance they could go from winning the conference to last in their division. The Sun Belt is, of course, the last conference to still have divisions. This is the number 1 regression team in all of college football, I believe.
Man, it's right up my wheelhouse, Brian, because I've always said, hey, it's hard to be great every night for these teams. Like, just look at the Dodgers, but bad is bad. It's hard for a bad team to just all of a sudden play great. So I like focusing on teams and individual athletes we can fade. Yes.
Yeah, and going back to the coaching change that Marshall had with Charles Huff leaving for Southern Miss, this is incredible. Southern Miss has more returning starters from Marshall on its roster this year than Marshall has on its own roster. That's how much Huff took. Huff just pillaged the program in Huntington. I feel bad. I had a great time in Huntington, West Virginia, about, 30 years ago. I saw Randy Moss's last regular season game against my alma mater, Ohio University. He threw the touchdown out of the stadium into a McDonald's parking lot.
I mean, this is 2025, baby. You have more players going to another school than returning to it is wild.
Yeah, the one they played on last year. Yep.
Amazing. All right, Bryan Power, tell everyone what you have up for clients on this Monday.
Yeah, so you have until tomorrow to get on board this special offer. We're doing 30 days for $199. I think it's a great deal. We have not had a losing record in any month this year, Andy. Now, August, I alluded to this earlier, August is off to not the start that I was hoping for. It was actually just a bad weekend, culminating yesterday. Still a little, I'm in kind of a bad mood, Andy. I mean, I may not have shown it. I always try to put a smile on my face when I come on the program, but in a little bit of a bad mood from yesterday. I had the Mets as a 4% play. They were up 5-0 on the Brewers. The Mets did not win that game. They lost in walk-off fashion. I don't know what voodoo the Brewers have under their caps, but tip your cap to them. They're doing well. But despite the kind of rough weekend here, we have not had a losing record any month this year, and we're going to try to. That means it's a great time to get on board because I've lost a couple days. I'm just 1-4 the last 3 days, so great time to get on board. We bounce back 30 days for $199. Not only does that get you baseball, it's not just baseball. Get you the start of college football, the Blitz, by the way, coming up in 10 days. The Blitz will be making its debut here on WagerTalk TV live every Thursday at 1 p.m. So you're gonna get all my college football to start the season, all my NFL, the first week of NFL regular seasons included. And European soccer starts this weekend. I know you were talking a little bit soccer a few moments ago. La Liga and the EPL get going this weekend. Very excited about that. Nobody's been more profitable betting soccer than me going back to April of 2024, up 61.6 units on the pitch. Nice.
Great stuff, Brian. Great breakdowns. And yeah, you're right. We were talking earlier about I'm on a 13-2 run. You're just like terrified. You're like, I know it's coming. But yeah, you have a couple down days. Yeah, that's the time to get on. But it's counterintuitive to tell people that. But yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. You'll get it on track. And I'm following your streak about winning months, man. That's amazing. Yeah, that's a hell of a streak.
It is. It is. It absolutely is. So we've lower volume. Around we've gone to that and it's worked out, I think, for the most part in all sports. We had that great finish to the NBA season. Right now it's just baseball right now, but excited obviously for football and football to get back in onto the betting board.
All right, Bryan Power, and we got the Blitz coming up. Brian's going to be hosting that show. Get you ready for all of the top games in college football. Dan and I are going to break down the Bucks. Got to tell you guys, 5% UFC play for UFC 319 has already gone up. Already knew what that play was going to be, coming off of a sweep, including a 5% win. So we're on a 4-0 run in UFC. We're seeing it really, really well, and this 5% play had to go up. Don't care about the lines. The lines have not moved hardly at all, so you can lock that in. I'd get it in ASAP. And here's what I'm going to do for the next 10 weeks. My $5 Tuesday play is going to be a Dana White Contender Series play. Let's see what we can do. Every Monday night, I'm going to put up a $5 Dana White Contender Series play. It works perfect, Dan. The play is on Tuesday night. We follow Contender Series as much as anybody. We do a live Dana White Contender Series show. So for the next 10 weeks, my $5 Tuesday play is just going to be the best bet on Contender Series. So get ready for that. Every Monday night, I will have that up. So, all right, Dan, come on in here. Let's talk the Bucks.
Woo!
I mean, I will always remember last year for the Baker Mayfield over 1.5 touchdown passes just every single week.
The gift that just kept on giving. And the number wasn't even bad. Like that was truly the rinse, wash, and repeat. And it kind of underscores what the really, latter half of the career of Baker Mayfield has been, is just sneaky, solid production through and through. And, a great wide receiving core doesn't hurt that. And, that's what you have in this team. So, yeah, with the heading into this year, I don't know, Andy, I know that we both probably have some thoughts on this squad, but I don't know. Why don't you set it up and talk this schedule? Because the schedule, that's where it starts getting a little bit tough talking about optimism for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, in my opinion.
My number one team that I think you're going to get an incredible line live throughout the season. This is why I won't be playing anything on the Bucs to start the season. They're 10-7 last year. Off-season moves. They lose their offensive coordinator. I'm just going to throw that Chris Godwin's probably not 100% to start the season. They did draft a rookie wide receiver that looks, by all accounts, he's going to be legit. They did get Hassan Reddick. Little bit of a head case, but they invested a few years. Hopefully that works out. They got Levante David. They took care of their left guard. They signed the left guard last year to 1 year, and he was great, so they got him locked up for 3 years. We talked about the Steelers and how PFF ranked them, great on defense. And this is the complete opposite. PFF.
This is fair.
6th for running backs, 2nd for wide receivers, 6th in offensive line on defense. Terrible. 27th defensive line, 25th linebackers, 22nd secondary. That's why props on this Tampa Bay team are just great. It's like the Bengals. They can't stop anybody. They get in these shootouts. I mean, it's wild. All right, we mentioned the schedule. Here's how they start. At Falcons, at Texans, Jets, Eagles, at Seahawks, 49ers, at Lions, at Saints, bye. Then here's where I think they can do some damage. They go Patriots at home. They go at Bills, at Rams, Cardinals, but then they finish. I don't know if it gets better than this. Saints, Falcons, at Carolina, at Miami, home Carolina. That has got
the Carolina is what gets you there. You know what I mean? I think
Carolina's
they split.
Not great.
Yeah, I think they split with Atlanta, but at least, you have a Miami team. What are they going to look like? They're a kind of team who seems like they always start off strong and then fade off. So you're getting them historically on what's going to be a good spot. But it's not an overbearingly easy schedule. I think the easiest part of the schedule, Andy, is that you get to play in the NFC South. And on paper, you should have 4 guaranteed wins right there. So now you're just looking for 5.5 wins on the schedule. I mean, Saints, they've also looked awful in the preseason. Again, there's no indicator there, but they're looking like they should be every bit as awful as promised. Panthers, who knows? They're a team who might be able to keep up with teams in scoring, especially against a defense like this. However, I like the answers that Tampa Bay has made defensively. They got better defensively in the offseason. However, that depth is non-existent on the defensive side of the ball. So, injuries are always, the ultimate equalizer. Last year, they were one of the more injured teams in the league. So does that kind of regress to the mean? You got to hope so defensively, because you really don't have any depth to speak of at really any level of the defense. So that's what would worry me about this team going over. But Andy, just like Baker Mayfield in his second half of his career, this is the team that always, 8.5 wins last year, they got 10 wins. When they were 6.5 wins the year before, they got 9 wins. So this is a team who consistently just over exceeds expectations. And that was even going 2-5 in 1-score games last season, which we know that's something that typically flip-flops from year to year. Teams that are bad in 1-score games, maybe having a bounce that doesn't quite go their way. Outside of the defensive concerns, with the depth there, the other part that worries me, Andy, is outside of Bucky Irving, really your star players are all aging, right? Mike Evans goes over 1,000 yards every single year, which is great. But what's the year when he's finally not going to go over 1,000 yards? Could it be 1,000 yards? Could it be this year?
He also goes
that
over.
Remains to be seen.
He also goes over his massive hamstring strain total every
exactly. Yet still somehow finds 1,000 yards. So that's why I was excited when they bring in Emeka Egbuka. I think he could make an impact immediately on this team, especially in the stead of Godwin. You hear me? I'm excited for this team. I think they're going to be a solid team. I think they get to play in a bad division. You know that I have Atlanta Falcons potentially winning this division, but I think these two teams are going to push each other. I think I give Atlanta the edge simply because their schedule is a bit easier, which is hard to say because Tampa Bay's looks even easy in some stretches here. But our man Sean is going to love this. It's an ever slight lean to the over, Andy. Depends on what happens in division. I'm going over the 9.5 wins, but for what it's worth, I'm with you, man. I wouldn't bet this before the season. I think that 9 number is a spot on one. I think this 9.5 is really good. But like you said, you stumble out of the gate here a little bit. This is a team that you will be able to bet in season, get a hell of a lot of a better number, and also have a read on what their injuries are going to look like.
Here's what I'm praying for. I'm praying they stumble out of the gates, and then they have this Jets, Eagles, at Seahawks, 49ers, at Lions stretch.
Yeah.
I want to see some losses there, because then I get them at Saints and then a bye. Oh, give me 7.5. Give me a great 7.5, 8.5.
Well, and JP makes a good point here. Is it kind of is the race to 9 or 10 for winning this division, right? That's where it's who gets there. So you might not need to expend some stuff down the stretch if the Falcons fall off a little bit, because I doubt you're going to be getting pushed by this version of the Saints and this version of the Panthers, right?
Agreed, 100%. I will say, for the purposes of this segment, lean over, but
don't bet.
This is going to be. It's no way is it a bet, but man, this is going to be a great team to bet props on. This is going to be a great team in season on their win total. So,
Buka is also a great fantasy late round pick. Or if he's on waivers, just so you know, for you fantasy players out there, I'm very bullish on him. I think he's going to fit in very well with Baker.
Absolutely. Isn't it funny? Baker gets out of the Browns organization and flourishes. It's just like good. That organization just sucks.
Death taxes and players being better when they're out of Cleveland. Those are the 3 guaranteed things in the world.
Amazing. So, all right, guys, that's going to do it for us. Again, 5% UFC best bet is up, and a $5 Contender Series play will be up later today. Please hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. We're going to do it again all over tomorrow. Appreciate you guys for joining us on this Monday. Good luck on your bets, and take care.